3 a.m. the clock read. Whether this time was right or not, I was unsure. But outside it was not betrayed, as the sky was jet black. I lay on my bed looking forward out of the window, as I had done for much of my childhood, dreaming of adventures unseen, creating figures from the stars above, speaking back to me their lines. Each night I would tune into that spectral sight, but now my story was as it were unleashed to the whole world below. The stars were strangely silent, but nevertheless I stared straight. I wondered what I should do next. I noted that my illness had long since passed. I no longer felt feverish or saw any more flashes, but as I had no idea how the sickness would take me, I could not be sure. But everywhere I had travelled I met the same destruction, so I wondered, short of getting a ship and sailing to the nearest coast, what point was my journey? Should I stay put here, the place of my birth? I went to the kitchen and made a bowl of cereal. There was no milk, so I opened the back door, climbed over the neighbour's fence, broke the door window, and helped myself to their fridge. On my returning, I glanced up at the sky and looked up at the full moon that beckoned out before me in its brightest splendour. I went back to my room upstairs, turned on the radio expecting to hear nothing, but I was pleasantly surprised. A man spoke from what sounded like a telephone to the person sharing the studio. It was a most horrific sight. I watched from the edge of the city in my truck. People grabbed hold of their stomachs, trying to breathe. I saw people in the hundreds, one by one, drop to the ground. Their faces bright purple, their chests drawn to their bodies. I saw children, women, men, each one drop. And then there was silence. Nothing moved, even animals dropped to the ground. I thought it was over, so stepped outside of my truck, only to feel the pressure of my lungs the next time I tried to breathe. I was unable and climbed back into the truck and grasped all the air inside. I put my foot on the accelerator and drove as far as I could. I drove past as much as I could. The dead bodies had fallen further on. I eventually found the next city where air was in its abundance, but still the dead were to be found. I have heard other people on your show describing a big explosion, a nuclear one, that a fog brought a genetic radiation. But how could this suck the air out of this area? I just don't understand what has happened to our world. Why has it happened to us now? It is truly unbelievable. The talk show host didn't speak for a moment, and there was dead air. Then he spoke out the numbers to call the show and continued to take more calls. I pondered over the first caller's words, how he described his city without air. Harkin had said that this was a genetic weapon. Could it be possible that it had mutated and could not just alter humans but also the world around it? Could that explain that earthquake in the Scrag city? If that was so, it was not just the fog one had to worry about. It was the state of the very earth we all took for granted, that we all stood upon. A few hours later the talk show finished, as did the station, and all that was heard was dead air. I had fallen asleep to the voices and found the sun waiting for me. I had decided I would bury my parents and move on. I carried their bodies one by one. I could not find a shovel and any instrument to dig the dirt, so I had to use my hands and some sharp knives to aid me. Eventually I dug a hole big enough to fit both their bodies in, and I placed them together next to each other. I thought of the symmetry of them bringing me into life, and now I was burying them. I covered a layer of dirt over them. The moulds were high above the ground, but it was the best I could do. It was possibly the hardest thing I had to do, for these were people that showered on me so much unconditional love, who had brought me to this life, had shown me its beauty and then let me go. And now I had to physically place the dirt that would bury them until all was left were bones. Their lifeless bodies looked just as they had, only their spirits were gone, the soul missing. I got up and got back into the double-decker and drove off, taking the radio with me, awaiting the next program. Maybe there was a place to which the living were setting up a new world. It was about 6 o'clock and I had driven for 100 miles. I stopped at a petrol station and filled up the bus, took some food from the shop there and used their toilet. Back in the radio, in the double-decker, the radio which had been on was speaking. It was the voice of the host giving out the number of the show. I wrote the number on a piece of paper and found a mobile in the pocket of the dead petrol worker. The host took a call. It was a man who was describing that he was in a hotel fully clothed in a bath of cold water with ice cubes from the fridges in there. He said from the window he could see people running furiously to try and get inside the hotel. But he had said he had barricaded the doors. He said that for the last few days the temperature had risen. The host asked him about what the man outside was doing. He explained that he could not see clearly from sitting in the bath. The host asked him to go to the window. The man explained it was too hot, and the water kept it bearable. The host did not understand what was happening, so asked him once again to get up and describe what was happening outside. The man this time complied and described the scene that unfolded for him through the blinds of the window. "It's a man, fool he is, being out in the sun. Why should someone stay out there when they know it's so hot? He's carrying some bags. Can't see what's in it. Oh my God." "What is it?" cried the host. "Oh my God, his hair's caught alight. He's using his hands to try and put it out. It goes out and then lights up again. Now his jacket on his left arm is caught alight. He's trying to put out the flames. Rolling about the floor. Oh my God, his whole body's lit up. He's on fire, the poor bastard. He's trying to put the fire out, thumping his body, but the flames won't go out." "Oh God," the voice abruptly ceased. "What's happened?" said the host, and for a few moments the man said nothing. He looked towards me. I saw his face. It was melting. I saw fire in his pupils. Then he dropped. He tried to pull himself towards the hotel, but now he stopped. Kept reaching for his bag. I can see now what was inside it. Medicines. Now I can hear the crackling sound like a roast in the oven. His clothes are gone. His insides are burning now. I have to go. It's so hot in here, so hot. Must get back in the bath." The splosh was heard, as if the phone had dropped in the bath, but it was not picked up. No voice was spoken on it again. "Hello? Hello?" the host called. The searing heat he had described had obviously got the better of him too. The host said he was taking a break and would return in 30 minutes. I got back in the bus and drove down the empty road. I kept the radio on for the next 2 days, but I never heard another thing from it. I tried ringing, but no one answered the phone. What happened to the talk host I do not know, but once more I felt as if a stranger who I had befriended was gone yet again, and I was left alone.